Hello, EnderSword here again, this time with another Gold League replay. This one has been posted on the TeamLiquid.net strategy forums by Yamet here. He was basically looking for some advice on what to do better in this game, as most people are looking for when they do that sort of thing. And so we're going to help him out today. His opponent is going to be the Dick Sucker X over here, who I guess Dick Sucker was taken and he wanted the X to be a little more unique. Either that or he's indicating he is actually the 10th in his noble line of Dick Suckers or something like that. But either way, he's here over on the right-hand side of the map, and he'll be our opponent for today. We will be focusing on Yamet, of course. The three key things that we're going to look at during this game are, number one, the idea of anticipating supply use. So there's certain times that you've added on a lot of production, that maybe you've added on extra command centers, you've added on extra barracks, factories, something like that, or you're switching to a different type of unit that you're going to produce. We're already maybe a little late on this supply depot. Could have gone down to prevent this from being supply blocked as long as it did. Not a huge deal, but a little something. But yeah, generally we'll add on production, and we know that we're going to be using more supply than we had been using in the past. You want to kind of get ahead of that and make sure that you're getting more supply depots down so that we don't get supply blocked right as that production comes online and we end up delaying our investment by a whole lot. Second thing that we're going to look at is kind of tied in, which is anticipating economy increases. So there's times that we're taking a natural, we're taking a third, or we just know that we're about to have mules done, we're about to get a lot of SCVs out onto the map, something like that, where the economy is actually going to be increasing on us and our old rates of production are no longer sufficient to use all that money. We obviously want to be using all our money pretty much at all times. So you want to make sure that you've got the production out there ready to absorb the new income that's coming in, as opposed to getting caught with this big influx of income and then putting down those structures that are going to help you produce your way out of it. The third thing that we're going to look at is the same as actually the last video did, but very important, and I think I did a Terran one last as well, but it's the idea that steady reinforcements are really the key. It was the key in the TVP that I did last, and it's even more so the key in a Zerg game. That it's very often the reinforcements that win the battle as opposed to the initial engagement, which tends to just kind of get washed over and crashed and things like that. And we'll see how that kind of develops throughout the course of the game. So finally we'll get to what the actual build is going on here. He's going for a pretty fast command center here, only off one barracks. We are again supply blocked. Definitely don't want to be getting supply blocked this early in the game. It's just a bit silly to be doing. It's going to slow down your SCV production. Already at this point, we probably could have been at 18 SCVs compared to the 20 drones. So just missing those two, just a bit silly. At this point in the game, there's actually no need to transfer these over. We don't have 16 mining over here, so there's no need to transfer 3 over. You're just kind of missing some of that mining time. It's time that you're going to rally these ones over soon, but you don't need to actually transfer if you don't have very many at home yet. So when you do a fast expand, very often you won't do that transfer. We do want to get the production a little higher than this. We know that our economy is about to be kicking in, so we're going to be able to spend more, and good, he is adding extra barracks in anticipation of basically the income that is going to be coming in from this. But you can see already we don't even want quite this high, up to 250 at only about 6 minutes in the game. You do ideally want to be making sure that we're spending that. You can see after that transfer, we don't even have like enough SCVs for each mineral patch at home or down here. There's just no kind of need to be doing that at that point. We're slagging behind in SCVs a little bit. He's fairly decent at getting them out, but because of a couple of supply blocks and just a few seconds missed here or there, he kind of delayed. We're supply blocked again. We're just not getting the SCVs out to match what the Zerg player is doing at the moment, and it's going to lead to us getting a bit behind in economy. Even if you're not behind the other player, it's behind where you could be. It's you can never really just compare it against your opponent. Obviously, if you're in Silver League, your opponent's in Silver League as well, so they might be equally bad, but it doesn't mean that it's not something that you can improve. So here we've just got nothing actually building. Here we've got 3 queued up, while none is actually building over here. You want to avoid that sort of long queue up. You want to be putting that money into actually getting production facilities out, making sure that each building is building what it is supposed to be doing. So while we've got a few queued up there, the siege tech was actually delayed for a few seconds while we got enough minerals to do it. In reality, we had enough minerals to do it. It was just being queued up somewhere else. Once again, supply blocked. This is about the 5th time in the game that this has been supply blocked. Literally at every supply depot, there has been a supply blocking that has occurred, and that's just absolutely shoving us behind where our opponent is at this point. If you look at the supplies, he's at 60 versus now 62. You can see as soon as that supply block is cleared, like literally the supply depot goes down and things start building, it already consumed to the next point. This is kind of what I call chain supply blocking yourself. You get behind and then you decide to build an extra supply depot, but literally the moment that supply depot is done, we're already supply blocked just as our buildings actually come online. We've got the starport here that you're going to want to produce medevacs out of. He does go straight for a medevac as opposed to adding a reactor on. You often want to anticipate, get a reactor on another building first, and then you can just make the swap. So it might have made sense, particularly again, since he is so supply blocked, and we're supply blocked again at 70, get a reactor on this building, be able to swap those out, and so on. The timing that he's chosen to go here is a little strange to me. We're about to have a medevac out, but he doesn't wait for it. He doesn't actually incorporate that into his army. So the fact that we have stim is a bit less valuable. We know that it's just going to take life off all of our marine units. He's got stim out, doesn't have combat shields done. So this damage that he's doing essentially to himself with stim is not something that can be healed up at the moment. Whereas if there is a single medevac here, a lot of these ones that were in the red would be probably already healed back to a nice life. I like some of this pre-splitting, but he's not doing anything with it at the moment. You want to make sure that you're doing this splitting near a target. The only thing that's actually firing is this one Marine. They're just kind of sitting back playing this zone defense. There was no hurry for the Zerg to come out and actually stop this, so he was able to regroup, make a few banelings, come into the area, and take out what he needed to take out here. Also might have been a decent time to throw down a scan, get rid of some of these creep tumors. You do want to be clearing creep out. And we've got finally the medevac coming in, reinforcements just wandering in. Obviously they're just rallied up to the front, so we lose extra Marines here that we didn't need to. He does re-rally everything just towards the front of his base. He did kill his own bunker. I like keeping 1 or 2 back, particularly for an attack like that, because that could easily swing back the other way. If you went up there and hit a bit of an overwhelming force, then it could easily kind of swing back in your own direction. It's nice to have just 1 or 2, particularly if we're not using our resources anyway. I know that the pros are using everything right down to the last mineral. It's not the end of the world if you do have just 100 or 200 minerals there for safety's sake, just so that when you're rallying back your first few Marines into a now undefended area, they at least have a place to go, a place to kind of hold lings for a little bit before the rest of your stuff can kind of come online and reinforce. That whole engagement obviously did bring our supply back down to about the 60 mark after that engagement, after we lost things, but we're already supply blocked again. So after using all this nice stuff to build ourselves back up, we're just supply blocked all over. And do we have anything building? We're just now starting one of the supply depots. Luckily this time he is going ahead and saying, hey, I know I'm going to blow through this, so I'm going to be putting down 3 supply depots. Really throughout the game as Terran, there's kind of, and as any race, there's kind of a point where you're making 1 supply thing at a time. Then you enter a phase where you have to make 2 at a time, and you enter a phase where you're making 3 at a time. After you're about the 3 at a time point, you're probably at 200, and you won't need to worry about it too much anymore. But you definitely, as Terran, want 1 SCV that's virtually permanently making supply depots, which eventually rises to 2 FCVs permanently making supply depots. So you don't even pretty much want to send them back to the mineral line. You just want to send them to make another throughout the game, and it really does help you kind of avoid this sort of problem. You can see we're already at this. We just put down 3 of them. 3 entire supply depots went down, and we're already supply blocked again, and there's none building. Now our focus is going to be on this fight. Get a medevac here full of units. That should really just get O to there, but he decides that he wants to drop these down. Don't drop stuff directly onto Lings. It just doesn't make sense. You know that it's going to get fungal, and just not a great decision to actually be doing. Medevac does stay alive with 2 hit points, and the Marine, of course, is invincible because there's a medevac there above. We do have the money to continue the upgrades here. They're not actually going down at the moment. I like the extra orbital commands that are here. It's going to help us get a lot more economy out, but you can see that that's not really our problem right now. We've got several hundred minerals, several hundred gas, or more than several hundred gas, pushing 1,000 on both, and it's just production that's stopping this from coming out. That we've only got 1 factory coming. He is adding on 2 more, but this probably should have been done a while ago. We've only got the 1 starport out, which isn't even actually building at the moment, so you could add on additional things like that. We could even add on, say, a starport dedicated to getting ravens out, or at least 1 raven out, to try and push back some of this creep. We know that that is an issue at this point, and it's going to be hard to turn the tides on this. He even ended up with kind of almost a bit of a creep island here. It's connected from the main, but it's helped him push a lot forward. We know we have to get rid of this gold base, and it's going to be hard to move forward on creep, and you probably don't want to be spending that many scans to get rid of it, although we do have the extra orbitals, which will help out on that. The Terran's kind of sitting back here. This tank isn't sieged. It's good to have a staggered tank formation, but you want to make sure that they're kind of all coming to bear on where an attack's coming from. If something comes in from the front, these are almost a little too staggered. There's not enough concentrated fire. We only have 2 tanks out. Got a 3rd building. These ones just finally getting the tech lab online. That's not making anything. Don't have quite enough medevacs at this point. At kind of 18 minutes of the game, you should really be running around at all times with like 10, 11, 12 medevacs out on the field. We could be doing extra drops if we can be pulling some of these away. That comes in, catches this one, again unsieged like I mentioned, does pull out. I think that was just a, if it was a clever kind of feigned attack to drive the forces back so that he could go and take that out. However, he probably could have in reality just gone and taken that out anyway. The Terran position is really to defend his existing stuff. If he moved up more in this area, then he's doing a better job of defending the actual expansion that he puts down. But by coming way back here, he's just not really doing that. Again, I'll say I like some of the pre-splitting, but it's not really done in an ideal location. It's not done in a forward location. Any of the ones that are kind of down here aren't overly helping you. That's where you're going to retreat these guys to. You tend to want to have them staggered along the front, and then tanks more a little behind everything kind of in this area. That one's like in a pretty good spot, because there's no point to these. When things come through the front line, you're going to collapse onto this position and actually become more concentrated than you were. We're going to be abandoning our tanks up front. So watch this engagement kind of come in. He moves these up anyway, so we've kind of destroyed our pre-split. The tanks are up there for the Ultralisk to come at. The Infestors just kind of walk in. There was no real benefit to that whole positioning thing. And overall here, we're going to obviously lose this front line. These tanks in the back are just way too far in the back. They were never really relevant in that fight. It's good to have, again, layered, staggered tanks, but in that type of position, if they're not firing at something up here, there's no point in having it way back here. It's just not actually going to be helping out, and Yamet does tap out of that game. So overall, the key things, he never really made a good aggressive push against the Zerg player. He got up to here at one point, but there was never really any threat to do damage. He had his siege tanks siege way back here, making a pretty decent defensive position, but there weren't enough Marines, there wasn't enough stuff streaming in, they weren't self-healing at that point, there weren't any medevacs up with the force, so they couldn't continue to stim. Once they did like 1 or 2 stims, they're pretty much out of that game. A lot of them were in the red after minor skirmishes. There was no real threat against this hatchery. There was no clearing out of creep, this is a pretty good dense creep job that was done at the time by our Zerg player, so it would have been actually hard to take that out, but it probably would have helped to get rid of some of that and just try and stem the tide of this coming down. He did kind of stop at a point. This easily could have been right at the front door and causing problems, covering both the gold bases and everything had he kept with it. Did have a good start there, but obviously I'll let it slack off. The real killer in this game obviously was the thing I was harping on most of the time, which was that he was supply blocked probably 40 to 50% of the game, if I can be as bold to say that. I think he was essentially at every single supply point making that depot and then becoming instantly supply blocked as his stuff started to build. He would put down a depot and then 4 Marines, 2 SCVs, and a tank would come out or start to build, and he would become instantly supply blocked again. That prevented us from getting a lot of medevacs out onto the field, which would have helped a ton. You can see this late in the game, we do finally have 9 out there. Probably should have had 9 out around like 14 minutes or so, like quite a bit earlier than this. It would have given us a lot more leeway to go and do drops around the Zerg's base. He had a lot of key tech here that it would have taken him a while to sweep everything back and come into this area. We're in a really good position for drops. You're so close by air from Terran base to Zerg base that there's a lot you could do. You can also kind of come over and sweep out the drones out of this gold. Once he got gold, that really became a problem. That's going to make it a lot easier for him to transition into any type of tech that he wants. He did choose Ultralisks here. There was never really any scouting, so when that Ultralisk switch did come out, we were completely unaware of it. He could have switched into Spire as opposed to Ultralisk and gone for Broodlord tech, and there's really nothing we had out anticipating that type of switch at all. It would have been hard to get both medevacs out and then add on some Vikings or anything like that. So we were just kind of caught on the same Marine tank medevac structure for the entire game, and no capabilities really thrown down that would have let us switch into Marauders, would have let us really switch into Vikings. I know they just come out of here, but you want to have a lot more than that so that you can make that switch a little crisper. Overall, it really was just the supply here. Had he been able to continually produce during these engagements, if we go back to any engagement, I'm going to ambitiously try to, and look at things that almost looked like a total rout, and then see what the actual result of that thing were. I want to get at 17 minutes, but it's not going to let me. If we look at the supply before and after, maybe I want 15. If we look at the supply before and after some of these fights, and this will be kind of a slow part as I get to where we are. So he comes up in the middle, and I'm going to consider this an engagement that did not particularly go well. but we've got 119 supply against 120. As that all moves into position, the tanks siege up. You do want those spread a tiny bit more away from each other. It does kind of put one in position here. We can fire on the gold. We're at 129 and 129 supply blocked versus a non-supply blocked army. This comes in. It's the Zerg that was taking the brunt of the damage there. And we end this fight, once again, pretty much even with where we left off. He's got the infestors left, but our actual supply is about the same. So we're not that bad. But as we remax towards that, the Terran wasn't able to build anything in the meantime. He was supply blocked at that 129. So only after that comes off and after the army dies are we able to advance. Had he been able to build during this fight while he was taking that position, then we could be back at about 130, 140 already. That this wave of reinforcements actually would have been made before the engagement even took place, and then new reinforcements would be coming out that put us about 15, 20 supply ahead of this. But now they're only coming out just now. So we'd be one entire wave of production higher than this after those fights. So that's kind of the type of thing that you want to be looking for in your replays. I'm sure that people have lost interest by now, so I just kind of wanted to go back and really show that part. Thanks for watching, and I hope that helps, guys.